little bit slower at this time of year, just generally.
Yeah, I guess
everybody's still on holidays, really.
Like dry January doesn't start until like the 7th of January.
Yeah. So why would you make it like
it's an easy out?
It needs to be.
Exactly.
Let's run you through the newspapers this morning. If you're back at work this morning, by the way, yeah, fair play to you, you know. At least a good half of our office are like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll come in, maybe I won't.
Are you slapping yourself in the back there?
I mean, no. I just like, you know. Tottenham bounced back to coast past Cardiff after early goal blitz. Mark and Harry Kane would be a good idea, lads. Cardiff 0, Tottenham 3. And then afterwards, the Cardiff manager, Neil Warnock, was like, oh, it's not fair. The Spurs are going to play their games in their new stadium. There's going to be a betting-in period for them at the new White Hart Lane. We had to play them at Wembley. Everybody else had to play them at Wembley. The Premier League should make them play the games at Wembley for the rest of the season. I'm like, you are a dumbass. They're far more likely to win every game at White Hart Lane than they are at Wembley.
I'm not going to lie, until Neil Warnock said it, the thought had crossed my mind that there might be a small betting-in period at White Hart Lane. But then Neil Warnock said it, so I automatically kind of have to disagree with him because I disagree with a lot of what he says, except for the fact that actually the one weird thing that's happened to me over the Christmas period is that I've started to warm to Neil Warnock. I've started to think to myself, I think the phrase that was used on this show was that Cardiff were going to get relegated extremely hard from the Premier League.
Extremely hard.
And it doesn't seem to be happening that way at all. And in fact, there's a high possibility they will avoid relegation. Now, if I'm calling it now, I do think they're going to finish 18th. Cardiff City. I just don't think they have the squad of players around them, or say the manager in the ilk of Rafa Benitez to keep them up. I do think they're still in huge trouble, but I didn't think they'd be in the survival mix as healthily as they are at the moment, and they're not going to finish bottom.
Yeah, I mean...
So respect has to go to Neil Warnock for what he's done.
Oh, look, he's got a successful career in football management into his old age. Arsenal got back on track against profligate and porous Fulham. Fulham... was it a good idea to change the manager as early as they did? Should they maybe stick a little bit?
Well,
are they going to have to do it again?
I don't know. Like up until yesterday, it was their best run of form of the season. They'd gone 3 games unbeaten. There was a lot, as tends to happen at the Emirates Stadium, quite a lot at the moment, there was a huge sense of nervousness, particularly when Fulham got back to 2-1. They got a couple of chances then after that as well. It could have been a lot better for Eoin yesterday. So, like at the start, I thought you were bang on about him, that it was a terrible appointment. But over the Christmas period, they've started to show a few more signs of a team that might actually be up for the fight and put some sort of run together.
I could see him being gone by the end of January.
That would be extremely harsh. And also, the Fulham hierarchy know that it's their fault. And then suddenly the fans' hatred goes towards them instead of the management.
FAI to introduce term limits on board. This is a John Fallon story that's in many of the newspapers this morning. So the story here is the FAI are to stage an emergency general meeting next month to introduce term limits on their all-powerful board. Sorry, not on all their powerful boards. So before Christmas, it emerged that the Department of Sport, Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport, Shane Ross, mandated Sport Ireland to ensure that major bodies were compliant with the government code for community, voluntary and charitable organisations by 2019. So basically this is, you need to introduce term limits of 3 years for all your senior officers on the board, and you can only have 3 of those terms, so a 9-year limit. That would obviously have a major impact at the FAI, where Delaney has been a director since 2001. 4 others, Eddie Murray, Pádraig Traynor, Michael Cody and Jim McConnell are into their 15th year of directorship. So I wonder though, do you grandfather this in? Is it 9 years from now, or is it 9 years up to this point? So that bit wasn't clear from the way the story is written today, but I guess we'll get some more detail on that in the coming days. The FAI have issued a statement saying, on New Year's Eve, saying that they would complete their journey to compliance with the code by February 2019. So that's not that long for us now to wait. It isn't that, indeed, 2019 on. I can't confirm. This is January, February's next month.
So what happens? So when we qualify for Qatar 2022, Shane Ross is the man who saved Irish football.
I don't know.
Do we have to thank him for every good thing that now happens in Irish football?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we're going to wait and see how that one plays out. Changing into a champion, Sunita Sport charts the twists and turns that put her on top of the world. And then Kieran Shannon has a piece about Don Wooden, the basketball coach who coined the phrase "the process." And
there's more to do with Nick Saban, that piece, and just how insanely. And she obviously Wooden came up with the idea of the process that Jim Gavin has taken and made his own. But I think what is it? Next Monday is the college football final.
Yeah.
And obviously to actually win one college title in the United States is insane just because of the amount of teams involved. But I think they're going for their 6 and 8 years or something like that, Alabama, which is just an insane achievement. So it's a good piece by Ger and Eoin.
Apparently Nick Saban's a bit of an asshole though, screaming at the kids on the sideline.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I guess, do you have to be an asshole to be at his level?
I don't think so.
Like he does say that if there is a match set for kickoff time around television at say 2:39, Saban will be there for the television interview at 12:39, not 12:30, because 2 hours before kickoff is 2 hours before kickoff. Like there is being punctual, and then there is being just a bit of an asshole. Maybe they're the same thing.
Yeah, maybe. On to the Irish Independent this morning. So it's about playing the right way, insists Solskjaer, who, it's just easy. Get out there, smack them all in their asses, tell them they're great, and away they go. United's interim manager pledges to keep positive approach as he closes in on Busby Mark. What is the chances of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer getting this gig now? What does he have to do? Does he have to win the Champions League?
No, you don't have to win the Champions League. You've got to... The thing is that he's not had to lay down a marker just yet. He's just had to do what is expected of Manchester United and pick up 3 points in the games that they're expected to pick up 3 points in. Like, if they take a scalp of PSG in the Champions League, then the conversation becomes a realistic one. I think at this point it is still too early to say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the man for the job. It would be stupid of Manchester United to not make a move from Maurizio Pochettino. No matter what Solskjaer does between now and the end of the year, Maurizio Pochettino is still a better manager than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like Solskjaer would, as you say, have to win the Champions League to stave off that. Now the thing is, Manchester United may well be unable to get Pochettino. They may well be unable to get someone like Zidane. And then they're looking lower down the rungs. Is Laurent Blanc on that level? He's probably on a rung below that. So then it becomes, say, a situation between Blanc and Solskjaer. Then what does Solskjaer need to do? And you would say...
Not much.
Not a whole pile more, because once you get beyond those first 2 targets, the managerial world of options is actually a lot thinner. Although they've been looking at your man Rose, the manager of Red Bull Salzburg as well, apparently. So they do a bit of recon and try and get someone like, say, Southampton tend to do, getting Pochettino in the first place, or Hasenhüttl now, and get a Hipsters choice as manager. That could be the only thing that might stop Solskjaer.
I don't think Man United are going to go hipster.
No, they won't.
There's no chance. McIlroy plays down loyalty towards European tours. An interesting. So Brian Keogh has this piece here saying, I've travelled the world for 12 years playing professional golf. I'm still going to be a world player, but I don't want that hopping back and forth over the Atlantic as much as I used to do. It's not as if we all got handed starts. You've got to qualify to get on. A lot of guys have this sort of loyalty to the European tour, which is great. Great for them. But my life's here. I live in the States and my wife is American. Everything is moving this way in the world. It just makes sense. I'm finally healthy. I'm feeling good. I've got the schedule I want and I'm settled in my life. And fair play. Ultimately, the European tour can try and continue to compete, or it can kind of be friendly towards these players who are superstars coming from Europe and say, come on, come back. We understand this is a long game. You'll still play for us in the Ryder Cup, won't you? Won't you?
Like he must have been looking on with envy over the past couple of years as the likes of Spieth and Thomas and Dustin Johnson just managed to play on their one tour and really not have to, I guess, pay any sort of tribute to the European Tour by playing events that they don't want to play. And I'm not saying Rory McIlroy doesn't want to play the European Tour events he didn't want to play. I'm sure if it really came down to it and he felt it was badly affecting his career, he would have taken a step back from them already. But he's probably at the stage in his career now where he's like, right, this idea of me perhaps racking up a few more majors has got to happen in 2019 or 2020. I've got to do every little thing within my control to get that to happen, and stepping away from the European Tour. He's dead right.
Yeah, and it was totally and utterly inevitable. The European Tour at some point is going to merge with the PGA Tour, really. That's maybe it already has in some respects. Coleman looked like McCarthy's first big call. It's John Fallon's talking point. Do you pick Seamus Coleman to play for Ireland?
Well, the difference is I'm not the manager, Mick McCarthy is the manager. Mick McCarthy's obviously a very good relationship with Matt Doherty as well. I'm sure that won't come into play, but he certainly knows him a lot more than Martin O'Neill knew Matt Doherty. I think that's fair to say. So is that going to become a factor in his decision? It might do. Club form is obviously going to be a massive factor, which, needless to say, puts Matt Doherty well above Seamus Coleman in that role. The thing is, Seamus Coleman, we've seen him dropped as captain to the bench for Everton. Captain to the bench for the Republic of Ireland as well is now not such a far-fetched possibility. It's very, very tough to say. I think if he continues to not play for Everton, Matt Doherty probably leapfrogs him, doesn't he? If you're not playing for your club and there is a player playing week in, week out for the team that are just as good as Everton are at the moment in the Premier League, you've got to pick that player.
Yeah, but do you? Do you not also have to
like,
go?
Like the thing is here, like Coleman could come back into the Everton team, and there might be some sort of he might salvage something from the season yet.
Yeah,
I do think we're very quick to say this slump in form is the real kind of tail end of his career, or it's the beginning of the end of his career, and there is evidence to suggest it might be. But there have been cases where sometimes an injury like the one he sustained has just taken an extremely long time to come back from.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there's a very good chance James Coleman regains form, and I would not be dropping him from the Ireland team at any stage just now. I'd be trying to find a way to find a space for him and Matt Doherty. I see Cyrus Christie getting mentioned in that conversation as well. I mean, that's not right.
Well, he is a starting right back in the Premier League. You have to mention him.
Yeah, but like, is he as good as either of the other two?
You don't drop Seamus Coleman for Cyrus Christie at right back. No, you have to consider dropping him for Matt Doherty. You just have to. If you're going to play a flat back four and only one of Coleman or Matt Doherty can get into the team, it's ridiculous to not consider dropping Seamus Coleman, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
You have to consider Matt Doherty.
I mean, like, certainly there's a conversation to be had, but it's not ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's not ridiculous to have the view that your captain and best player for the last half a decade
is untouchable.
Is going to be the player that you're going to build around for the next 2 campaigns. And so Matt Doherty's form needs to be way better. Like, it needs to be astonishingly. It needs to be, okay, I'm going to completely change the fabric of my team. I'm going to look for new leaders in my team. I'm going to look for I'm going to look for that person who will come out and defend what we're doing and do the job that James Coleman has done for Ireland under very difficult circumstances over the last year and a half.
And you can't overstate that enough.
It's not just a like-for-like replacement then, because maybe we overstate the value of that. But at the same time, you just think in the dressing room, people are looking around to James Coleman and going, well, he's done it for a long time and he's put it in, and he hasn't been blabbing away the way Matt Doherty has. Like, you know, that counts for stuff, right?
Yeah, he's reacted with, or he's behaved himself with great integrity, and he's been a model professional all throughout his career. Like, there's no question about that. And I'm not saying it's an automatic decision here. I'm just saying that, can Mick McCarthy afford to go into the next campaign and say, oh no, Seamus Coleman is untouchable? Of course he can't. He's just got dropped for his club, and the player who would step into his shoes is playing with one of the most promising teams in the Premier League and has had a pretty bloody promising season himself. He's picked up a Player of the Month award. Like, it definitely has to be a debate that the Irish managerial team are having. Now, the debate, if you're talking about building a team around a player, well then the option of 3 at the back with wing backs obviously becomes a realistic potential in terms of getting them both in there. And I know it's been touted before, and like, I don't know how well that's actually going to work from an Irish perspective. Like, how good really is Matt Doherty or Seamus Coleman going to be on the right of a back three? That certainly is a huge question mark about the whole thing.
Yeah, it's worth trying though, right? At some point.
Definitely, and it helps that Gibraltar's first up.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see him in a good, I don't know, obviously every game's a qualifier until the friendlies, but sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and go for it.
Sometimes. I've got the tabloids here. The back page of the Irish Daily Mail this morning is Harry New Year. Now Kane scored against all 28 Premier League teams he's faced. That was the statistic doing the rounds yesterday. The only player to do so, to have a 100% strike rate. Not if you include like players who've kind of only played once against teams, I should say. Leinster now on everyone's target as well, warns Sean Cronin. Back page of the Herald is Pogba sights on Ron record. United ace now looking to make it 3rd time lucky, while Spurs back in the title hunt. Harry Kane picture there as well, celebrating his goal yesterday afternoon. Back page of the Sun this morning is Scouse of cards, Pep confident of Cop tumble, while Inter plot to snap up Young. So Inter Milan are prepared to launch a bid to sign Ashley Young, which is an interesting story doing the rounds this morning. Transfer rumours in full flow as the January transfer market opened 48 hours ago, 24 hours ago at this point. Back page of the Irish Daily Star is Gappy New Year. Liverpool's lead not a burden for Klopp. You've also got Green Giants treble yell. King of the World Michael van Gerwen winning his 3rd PDC World Arts Championship last night. Ger, did you watch it?
No.
Why? You didn't want to watch an artist at work?
Life is too short for me to make room for darts in it right now.
I would say there's not enough room in life for darts. Well,
how was it, Owen?
It was not as enjoyable as some people were predicting it to be. I'm not going to lie, I didn't follow this year's World Darts Championship as much as I've previously done.
I know.
Because
shit. Go on. Why not?
Because it's actually too good for me.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And Wayne Mardle was saying beforehand, this could be one of the greatest finals of all time, so naturally I started to get excited. and unfortunately...
So the hype sucked you in?
No, I was going to watch it all anyway, just to see if plucky underdog Michael Smith...
Then you watched it and it turned out it was crap.
No, Michael Smith bottled a lot of finishes. He was keeping pace with him really on the big numbers for the first couple of sets, and it was just his finishing was atrocious. He just crumbled under the pressure. He said he actually, when he went backstage between one of the sets, he punched a wall and he think he broke his hand. Which, like, to be honest with you, if you're a darts player, breaking your hand in the middle of a game isn't exactly a good idea. And I don't think it was his throwing hand. He didn't specify, but that was things were only going to get bad to worse for him when he punched a wall, I think. But Michael Van Gerwen, he's a machine. I was just rereading that interview that Donald McRae did with him in 2014, and he refers to him as Uncle Fester, and it's just constant Frankenstein or Addams Family after Addams Family sort of pun throughout the article, which is some people could say mean-spirited, but you would probably say it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
The Green Giant. Back page of the Mirror is anxious and nervous. Silva admits Everton are feeling the pressure after worst home run since Martinez was sacked. And the back page of the Guardian is Reds put on alert. Silva insists City will attack Liverpool in title showdown.
They're not talking about getting rid of Marco Silva, are they? At Everton?
Yes, anxious and nervous, sorry. Silva admits Everton are feeling the pressure after worst home run since Martinez was sacked, as I said, was the headline there. So, well, like, this is the thing that's been doing the rounds over the last couple of days. So Everton's form, to say it's patchy would be doing them a huge service, I think, at this point. Like, at what point do you have to look at Marco Silva and say, your head's on the chopping block here?
Well,
like, because
I was thinking about this, right? So, like, what is Everton want to be a top six club, right? They want to be a team who, on their very best year, can somehow squeak in to a Champions League place and build that way. Is it possible they can do that by having chop manager, or do they actually need a little bit of stability at the club and say, okay, you're going to be here 3 years at least, and this is our strategy, and this is our transfer strategy, and we're going to buy players according to this. We're going to try and get as many through as we possibly can from the academy, because we've traditionally been able to do that. And this is your salary restrictions, and this is the amount of players you can sign. Can you do that by chopping the manager? Like, who has done that successfully? Chelsea, obviously, but with the investment of $1 billion, which Everton clearly aren't going to make. So there's no other way of doing this, surely, without keeping him or somebody deciding who is your person and then sticking with him.
All valid points. Like, I think Everton's head might be turned by what's going on around them in the Premier League. They look at clubs like Wolves and Watford, sort of nouveau riche almost of the mid to lower rungs of the Premier League table, and you don't want to say there's like a chop nature to that, certainly not with Wolves, because they came with a plan to conquer the Championship and they did it successfully, and they came with a plan to survive in the Premier League and they've done that very, very successfully. There is just sort of a different approach to the way Everton do things, and you do wonder if the way that they feel to keep or to not stay static is to just change manager quite regularly when things don't go well. Because I think you always get to a stage every single year with Everton where you're like, if they could only just replicate this on a more consistent basis, which is surely going to happen from next August onwards, and it just never does, it never materialises in that way. And I think the Christmas period has just epitomised Everton over the past couple of years. Like, a couple of dreadful results, one very, very good result, and that's been it. And it's like, the situation with Seamus Coleman now, you'd wonder how the fans are going to react to that.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Coleman a bit now. Let's play you this first. It's Mark Lawrenson on Seamus Coleman's struggle to get back to his best after his spell on the sidelines.
Yeah, quite possibly, but it comes to everybody in the end, and it was horrific injuries, as everybody knows, and he got himself back. And he looked good. In fairness today to Everton, John Joe Kenny, the local boy, has been playing it right back, and actually he's been one of the better players. But it's just for Seamus, it's father time, I'm afraid. So he's just basically got to get on with it. But it's obviously really, really difficult when you've been such a good player. When you think about him and Baines on the other side, I mean they were absolute. Was there a better pair of fullbacks in the time? I'm not sure that there was.
Yeah, well, I mean, Coleman was always regarded as one of the best in the Premier League and constantly linked with a move to a bigger club. Never happened for him. And now I wonder, does he regret that he didn't go maybe when he had the chance?
I don't think so, because I think if he really wanted to go and put his foot down, you know what football's like nowadays. If you kind of say, I want to go, it's very, very difficult for anybody or any team to keep you. I think he knew what he had at Everton. And in many, many ways, Not, we talked about the full-back partnership. You'd argue they were possibly the two best players week in, week out. And, everybody looked at him. I mean, obviously, David Moyes signed him, didn't he? And I think he says he's probably the best buy he'd ever made. So, and he's been a great servant, obviously, for ourselves as well. But you got to get on with it. It's life, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's Mark Lawrence in conversation with Phil on Premier League Live at the weekend.